and welcome to Forgotten Temples with myself, Mr. B. This is a short mini-series that looks at the journey of those ancient Hindu gods. Now, if you are of Indian descent or live in India, you will find this very interesting because there's an entire chapter of the history books you may know nothing about. In these short 10-minute adventures, I am going out into the wilds of Cambodia, hunting down those Hindu temples that dwell here. And it is incredibly interesting. Just look over my shoulder. This is the largest pyramid temple of its kind in Cambodia. It was built by Jayavarman IV and it's dedicated to Shiva. And we're not seeing it as it was meant to be, because at the top there, on that pinnacle, was once a giant linga, and it is said it was sheathed in gold. I mean, just imagine that. You come from the countryside, you walk towards this giant, and it's sparkling at you. It must have been like coming across a spaceship, because all they knew were wooden huts. But the problem here is you're not seeing its true size, so I will have to walk away from you to give you a comparison. Walking away from you is the only way we can put this giant into perspective. The screen is not telling you the full story. And as I walk away from you, I am getting smaller and smaller and smaller. It's like I'm Alice from Alice in Wonderland in that wonderful Lewis Carroll book. I have taken the magic potion and I am shrinking fast. But in this case, it is the whole point of the temple. The amount of love, labour, devotion that went into this temple was for a solitary point, and that was to elevate the mighty God. But in doing so, they made me look so very insignificant, because I am in the presence of greatness. So let us head off on our first adventure. Now, I chose this site because it is so unique. It has such an incredible visual impact, and that's what that ancient king intended when he commissioned this site. The labour that went into it is quite simply astonishing. But what is more astonishing is when we get to the top, I'll be able to show you how this temple is placed. And where it sits is in the middle of an abandoned city. There's an entire ancient capital here, and it's all been reclaimed by the jungle. King Jayavarman IV had not only the skills, but also the will to build something on such a mammoth scale. He actually came from this area, and so this is where he placed his capital. But that's all very well, having the will and the funds to take on such an enormous project. What really makes buildings like this is devotion. The devotion to the God you are looking to find favour with. And my goodness, Shiva must have looked down and been mightily impressed. It is not just this humongous mark of faith that would have impressed Shiva. It would have been the entire city that the king built, because it was called Lingapour. It was the city of the Shiva lingas. And in these brief videos, I'll be showing a few temples from this site. And it is quite staggering, because what you must keep in mind is the entire city was built within 20 years. But things changed, because at his death, his son took over. But the city almost immediately fell into decline. The people really didn't want to be here because the arable land is not that fertile. So very soon after the king's death, they all upped and left. They went to the more famous cousin of this site, Angkor Wat. And that's what makes this area so incredible. The entire city was then just consumed by the jungle. And it's like it was held in a freeze frame. It's very reminiscent of what happened at Pompeii. The volcano goes off, Vesuvius, and click, the whole thing freezes. So coming here is absolutely fascinating. The truth is, we cannot say absolutely for sure why this site was abandoned. But speaking to scholars before I came here, they said the agricultural quality of the land certainly was a contributory factor. You see, the problem is there are no written records. Yes, there are some inscriptions in stone, but most of those are praising the king, not the demise of this empire. In front of us, we have a stairway, and this is going to lead us all the way to the top and show us a view and explain so much more. And as we ascend, I notice something. Look, the gods are with us. Is Shiva smiling benevolently down? Because the sun is positioned exactly where that golden linga may well have been. It's shining out like a beacon. And that, I believe, was the purpose for the linga being put atop of such a mighty pyramid. Are we seeing an echo of days long gone? We are only halfway up, and already look at those views that this giant affords us when we climb atop its mighty shoulders. And the question you may be asking yourself is, how was it the king could afford a temple of such enormity? Well, the answer is he raised taxes. And the taxes, potentially being so high, could have been another contributory factor in the downfall of this city being the capital that the people wanted. Now we have a few short steps to go, and at long last we are at the very top of the most incredible pyramid I have ever seen. And I've been to Egypt, and I've seen those great pyramids at Giza. And it is here, right here, that linga once was. Even the space is quite simply awe-inspiring. The life of this entire city, well, what we know of it from the very limited records, seems to have been very difficult. Not only was it as abandoned as it was so early on, it was then mercilessly looted. You see, the problem is, this city is located in the middle of nowhere. That gave free rein for the looters to come in and set up camp. They could be here not just for days, for weeks and for months, pillaging and emptying it of their treasures. For here there were fantastic carvings, fantastic statues, and they're all pretty much gone. Now, if that was not enough, in the 70s, the Khmer Rouge took over the country with Pol Pot, and they had a policy of banning religion, and that meant absolutely everything to do with religion. And looking at the last bits and pieces that were left in temples such as this and others in Cambodia, they then went on another looting spree, and they ripped the gods from their homes and transported them to the border. There they exchanged them for guns, and that saddens and angers me in equal proportions, to think that these beautiful gods were exchanged for weapons of death. So here was once the heart of the temple. I have to be very, very careful, and hopefully you'll see there is a huge hole that just goes downward. It must have been explored, but it is like a ginormous well. I would love to descend into it. But there's something else I wish to show you whilst we're up here. And the gods seem to be with us yet again, because what we have here is a Garuda, half man, half bird of prey, that Vishnu would use as his carriage and soar through the sky. Well, guess what? Just as I was filming that last segment, a bird of prey was circling above my head. I have never seen that happen before. These kind of coincidences really echo in my mind. There is our Garuda, and as we turn round, we are afforded the most spectacular view. It was right there that I saw that bird of prey circling, and I don't put these things in just to add a bit of flavour to the story. No, 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 no. I spend my life hunting down these temples because it is so rewarding. I mean, have a look at this view. What you're looking at was once a mighty city that had a population of tens of thousands, but now it has been reclaimed by the jungle. But in that jungle is many forgotten temples, and those are what we are on the track of. We are looking to find those temples and to find those Hindu gods. It is here I wish to end our first brief adventure, with an ancient city now hidden by the jungle in the background. And this place has had more than its fair share of unfortunate events. But there's one more I must add onto the layer, and that is, I mentioned the Khmer Rouge looted this place. Well, they did even worse than that, because this area was littered with landmines, and they're still here to this day. So what I do going to find these forgotten temples on occasions can be an extremely dangerous business. And it is one of the reasons that this place doesn't receive many tourists. For me, it's kind of a blessing. I dance with death, but I get sights like this all to myself. And it is a deeply spiritual experience. It is beyond just filming temples. I have fallen in love with these places. I honestly could no longer live without them. It is my reason for being. And I hope to show you more of them. So I ask you to please like, subscribe, and to comment on this video, because these videos are being sponsored by the Embassy of India. And if you say you enjoy these videos, then I will be able to go out on more adventures. So I beg of you, please, in the section below, leave me some comments and let me know what you think. Until next time, I wish you absolutely nothing but the very best. You take good care.